In recent news, the new Resident Evil series has dropped a pretty epic and scary 3D billboard that many cannot believe is real. Now, you really have to see it to believe it. Stay tuned to find out all the details about this new billboard, along with some Resident Evil Easter eggs you may have missed. And trust us, you don't want to miss this. Firstly, the new 3D Resident Evil billboard is crazy. Here's what you need to know. While 3D billboards are still uncommon, they are now available, and Netflix used one very recently to promote the new launch of its live-action Resident Evil series. The first season of the Resident Evil series, which is heavily based on the iconic video game franchise, consists of 8 episodes and was released on Netflix earlier this month. It's the second television adaptation, with the first being an animated series. Additionally, there have also been several Resident Evil films, the most recent of which was the Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City reboot in 2021. Ahead of the release of the latest TV series on Netflix's streaming platform, the company commissioned a billboard in Times Square that, from the right angle, appears absolutely terrifying. It depicts a licker, aka a mutant human born from a second set of zombie mutations, breaking free by smashing through a glass barrier. The licker then creeps around the corner of the digital ad, sticking its long tongue out at people passing by, and flees, presumably to wreak havoc on New Yorkers who are unaware of the evil that has just been unleashed. Now, these 3D billboards are not entirely new. However, they are not widely used compared to 2D billboards, digital or otherwise. They use images captured from various angles, and curved displays can create the illusion of 3D. They appear extremely convincing when viewed from certain angles, and from what we've seen in videos, the technology appears to work pretty well. We anticipate that digital 3D billboards will become more common over time, as they are certainly eye-catching. But we want to know what you thought about the billboard. Next up, speaking of Resident Evil, here are some Easter eggs you might have missed in the new series. The Netflix adaptation of the survival horror game series Resident Evil immerses viewers in an original story set within the game's canon, divided into 2 timelines. One following the Umbrella Scientist, aka Albert Wesker, along with his daughters Jade and Billy, and the other following an older Jade trying to survive a future apocalypse. The series attempts to combine the action and horror of Resident Evil within its mysterious new story, and while it isn't for everyone, there are plenty of Easter eggs for fans to find. First up, the daughter of an Umbrella OG. Now, Jade and Billy aren't the only ones who share ancestors with some of Umbrella's original founders. Evelyn Marcus, Wesker's colleague and Umbrella's CEO in the past timeline, is the daughter of former Umbrella founder James Marcus. Now, James Marcus co-founded Umbrella with Edward Ashford and Oswald E. Spencer, and was a key scientist in developing the original T-virus before being assassinated by Spencer. Most fans will recall Marcus as the main antagonist of Resident Evil 0, where he caused havoc for protagonists Rebecca Chambers and Billy Cohen, and grossed players out with his leech obsession and transformation. Evelyn, like her father, is a classic Resident Evil villain, whose thirst for power has disastrous consequences for the entire world. She's calculated, cunning, and has a complicated relationship with Wesker, which is appropriate given that Wesker played a role in her father's death in the games. Next up, Raccoon City. The 2022 timeline is mostly set in New Raccoon City, but what happened in the previous one? The show adheres to the canon of the game. After a T-virus outbreak in 1998, the original Raccoon City was destroyed. Umbrella told the world the area had been destroyed, but not why. But in reality, they had fired a nuclear missile into the city to destroy it. The show doesn't go into great detail, so there may be some differences from the game's canon, but it's a similar story overall. The next Easter egg you may have missed, Ada Wong. During the finale, Albert hands Jade a piece of paper with her name and address written on it. He informs her that the person who left the note is a friend, from whom she can seek assistance. Ada Wong is her name. Ada is a fan favorite from the games and a fantastic spy. Additionally, she first appeared in Resident Evil 2, but has since appeared in many of the franchise's games, novels, and even animated films. She was also portrayed by Li Bingbing in Resident Evil Retribution. It'd be great to see her in the show if it's renewed, and would require Jade to travel to Japan, as that's where Ada is, according to Albert's note. Next up, bringing back a classic Resident Evil enemy. Resident Evil 4 is a fan favorite for a number of different reasons. Its main protagonist, Leon, embodies the term hero throughout, and the enemies are some of the franchise's most horrific and memorable. It's also one of the reasons why fans are extremely excited for the remake of Resident Evil 4, which looks to add more horror along with stunning graphics as Capcom resurrects a true classic. So it's awesome to see that the Netflix series has paid homage to Resident Evil 4 by bringing back one of the most memorable enemies. Fans of Resident Evil 4 will recall walking into the opening village and being attacked by a chainsaw-wielding Ganado who could sever Leon's head with a single swing. When Jade is captured by the Brotherhood, she encounters a similar villain. The chainsaw soldier's bag-headed exterior clearly resembles the one from Resident Evil 4, and he's just as gruesome as we witness him shred one of Umbrella's soldiers, spraying blood everywhere. Another Easter egg you might have missed, William Birkin. William Birkin gets a shout-out during the first season, possibly more than one, and fans of the games and movies should recognize the name right away. He's a big antagonist in the series, and one of the foremost virologists in the T-virus research. Also, Birkin discovered the Golgotha virus, which is mentioned a few times but not by name in the first season. We also see Evelyn keep a monstrosity in a tank, and the creature resembles an early form of Birkin's mutation once he injects himself with G-virus in the games. Next up, the Lisa Trevor reference. In episode 5 of the new Resident Evil series, Jade and Billy discover a truly terrifying video of Lisa Trevor on Albert's computer. She looks almost identical to the video games, which in itself is pretty cool. Also, Lisa was a key Umbrella test subject, and the video shows Albert attempting to administer something to her. Lisa is deformed, chained up, and has a giant monstrous eyeball on her back, just like in the games. In the game, Lisa is infected with the G virus, Golgotha virus, which is known to cause these more extreme mutations. Umbrella created it as a bioweapon to combat the T virus. The G virus is not mentioned in the show, but there are hints that it will play a role later, such as the introduction of Lisa Trevor. Next up, the Red 9. As previously stated, Resident Evil's weapon selection has always been diverse and memorable. The depiction of the Hydra in the Netflix series is incredible, but it's not the only gun that gets lots of features. In episode 4, as Jade confronts the Chainsaw Man, Umbrella member Baxter comes to her aid with a quick headshot that dispatches the psychopath. Fans with keen eyes may notice that the gun he's holding is actually the Red 9 pistol from the Resident Evil 4 video game. Its slim barrel and long hanging ammo clip sets it apart and makes it a great nod for superfans who adore the pistol. Its high accuracy, unique reload animation, and overall dependability make it an instant Resident Evil classic, and it's one of the few pistols in the game that can be upgraded with attachments. It's also the most powerful pistol in RE4, and both protagonist Leon and supporting character Luis Serra use it frequently. Another reference you may have missed, James Marcus. Evelyn Marcus is James Marcus's daughter. James could even be the creature she keeps in a tank and lets loose at the end of the season. Evelyn's father, James, is one of the founders of Umbrella Corp, so it makes sense that she would try to follow in her father's footsteps and legacy. James is a brilliant scientist and virologist who created the T-virus. Marcus is reborn in the game after one of his infected leech experiments molds with his DNA. Now it will be interesting to see if this happens on the show. And finally, the Chainsaw Killer and the giant alligators. In Resident Evil 4, the Chainsaw Man is a particularly memorable villain. However, he doesn't play that major role in the show, but an identical version of the Chainsaw Man appears in episode 4 while Jade and Baxter are imprisoned by the Brotherhood. The Chainsaw Man in the show cuts up prisoners and feeds them to the zombies. Yuck. Furthermore, alligators and crocodiles appear in the Resident Evil games, but the one seen in the new show appears to be a giant mutated alligator, a nod to the boss fight in Resident Evil 2. The dreaded sewer section has the player attempting to flee from the game's alligator, which is terrifying, but we love to see these references from the popular video games shine through into the series. And there you have it, everything you need to know about Netflix's Resident Evil 3D Billboard and how it's pretty freaky. Now make sure to let us know your thoughts down below. And as always, thanks for watching.